Oh, shit. Uh, hold on.
Where did you go?
Welcome to Popcorn and Possibilities! We are back! Had to dig this up from the archives as my screen mask. How are we doing
Oh
today?
my god.
I was like
We're
so
better
hesitant
now.
to do it, and I was like, I don't know if she's gonna freak out,
I
but I
love
was
it.
like, let's wing it and let's see what happens. Obviously,
I
you
love it.
people listening on audio won't understand what's happening. I had put a screen mask, turned off my camera, turned it back on. Steph had no idea I was wearing this mask. Here we are. Welcome back. Week 2 of Halloween pumpkin, popcorn, pumpkin, and possibilities.
We're
How are we
here.
doing,
We're
Steph?
back. We are great. How are you, Bri?
Pretty good, pretty good. It is it's been one of those weeks. I'm happy it's over. I
Yeah,
will
oh my
say
god.
that.
And long
So,
weekend this weekend, which is certainly a plus.
I will say I went to Spirit Halloween and I just can't believe how expensive these things are now, like the
Oh, I
costumes.
know. Costumes are out of control.
Mhm. Like I went originally cuz I was like, "Oh, like let me see like sometimes they have like cool t-shirts or whatever and just take a look at the costumes." Even the scream, just the mask, the voice box, and the fake knife, it was like $60. I'm like,
That
"Get
sounds
the
right.
fuck out of here. I'm not paying that."
I went I think it was a Spirit Halloween last year. I was invited to a Halloween birthday party. Costumes were encouraged, not required, but you know me, I'm a big Halloween person.
Right.
But we had to drive a ways to get to this party. It wasn't local, and I
Okay.
really didn't feel like either traveling with a super ornate costume or wearing one in the car. So I was like, you know what? It's fine. We'll stop at a Spirit Halloween on the way there. I'll pick up I wanted to get one of those skeleton onesies. You know the comfy
Yeah.
onesie pajamas, but they look like the human skeleton. I'm like, oh, that'll be so cute. That's what I want to get. Do you know how much they wanted for one of those poorly made, shitty
Yeah,
onesies?
they're always shitty materials. It's
I was
terrible.
like, "Oh, absolutely not." So instead, I went for like a poncho of the same style. It only went to like the pelvic bone, I guess, because that's kind of where it rested when it was an over the head poncho with the armholes and stuff, and it kind of sat like a mini dress almost. It was, I think, I don't remember if it was unisex or specifically female, but that was less than half the price of the onesie. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. We'll go with this. I've got black pants on anyway. It's not a big deal. But $100 for a onesie. And you know, if it was really super good quality or if it was a designer brand name or something, the price of clothing never ceases to amaze me when you're talking high-end fabrics or designer branding because it's just expensive. It is.
Yeah, yeah.
But a crappy, poorly made Spirit Halloween product that probably is going to last me a year or 2 at best with
If
1
that,
or 2
yeah.
uses, it really is out of control, and all of their licensed merch, I feel, is way upcharged. I always feel like you can find it online for a lot cheaper than they sell it in the store.
Yeah, and now you have places like Target that sells shirts and
Sure.
I do think the prices are out of control and I just don't even think they have a lot anymore. Like it's it was 4 sections and it was like Marvel, which was almost like last year's Marvel movies, Scream, like Freddy Krueger, and then like here's a wall of masks and you like have fun with it. What would you say which mask like freaked you out the most as a kid?
Anything with a clown on it. The twisted metal looking clown guy and some of the really, not straight clown, like the really horrifying looking ones, those
Right.
definitely scared me the most.
The Hellraiser one I think got me the most as a kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Pinhead?
Pinhead, yeah. I
Yeah.
never saw the movie. I am curious to watch it. I think they
Great movie.
recently did one on Hulu, I think.
Hulu rebooted
Y
it. I didn't see the Hulu reboot. The first Hellraiser I think is great.
Okay.
Um, and then they all steadily drop off significantly after the first. But the first one is very, very good.
Hmm. How was,
Pinhead's pretty iconic.
yeah, I just, like, distinctly remember that Scream mask, then you had, like, the drunk Scream mask, the one from Scary Movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, I always remember seeing at Party City too.
the Jason mask, I had that as a
Yeah,
kid,
yep, yep.
but my mom, I I don't know why she always thought this was a good idea, but when some of the kids would come, some of the kids would do, like, repeated rounds around, you know, my area. So she would,
Sure.
like, take a, like, stocking for your leg, and she would
Okay.
shove it, like, down so, like, her face was all, like, smushed, and she
Yeah.
would, like, open the door, and she'd be like, "Who's answering again? Who wants ca" I'm like, "Jesus Christ, these kids are, like, 7." But she got, like, such a kick out of it, and I'm like, "Alright, you do you," but I was like, "These kids are horrified." Probably remember this as, like, teens.
I was always terrified that somebody would do that to me when I was trick or treating because, believe it or not, even though I love horror movies with all of my heart and soul, I do not like being physically scared in person. So I don't like the haunted houses where people chase you with things. I don't like when people jump out and scare me.
Mm,
So I always, when I was little, I used to be very wary of that when I was trick or treating. I always was terrified that somebody was going to open the door with a scary mask or they were going to do some shenanigans because I know I wouldn't know how to handle myself and I'd completely overreact. Um, so that if I had had that encounter, it would not
yeah,
have gone well.
yeah. There's so many things like shaving cream fights.
Never got it. Silly string, my cousin and I, we used to have,
Mhm.
like it was, like, the whole family, but really the most memorable, the most fun part of it was my cousin and I used to, we would have crazy silly that was a highlight of Halloween night is her mom would make us these little treat bags, and they had, extra candy and, like, maybe some desserts that she made, and there'd always be a can of silly string, and we would go have a big silly string fight in the backyard. Um, but even, like, shaving cream, I always found it weird, especially if you were doing it around people's cars and stuff where it could actually cause property damage.
Right.
But the more harmless stuff like toilet papering, shaving cream, silly string, all that stuff, I never got the appeal of, you know, damaging
Vandalism?
someone else's property. Vandalism is yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, toilet paper will fly out of the tree or it'll come out with rain or whatever. When we started getting into the age of eggs and paintballs, did you ever get
I
your
didn't
house
have
paintballed or
paintballs.
anything?
No.
My house, I remember my dad getting very upset a couple of times because, like, his pickup truck got hit with a couple, or our garage or the side of the house got hit with a couple.
Mhm.
Um, because that paintball damage and even egg damage, like, that's no joke. That can cause legitimate permanent damage to things.
Right. Right.
And not to mention, if you're talking about the physical like, if you're doing that to somebody, getting
Mhm.
hit with a paintball or an egg friggin' hurts. So I I understand that Halloween is about mischief and tricks and treats and all of these things, but it got to a point, I feel, when we were growing up that some people just got straight up violent and weird about it, and I'm all for Halloween. It's one night, like, you act a little bit out of character, you do things you wouldn't normally do,
Mhm.
but I'm not about causing harm to other people or other people's things. That's just not how I roll. I'd rather sit in my house and watch a horror movie marathon and eat a bunch of popcorn and candy and call it a day.
Call it a day. I did shaving cream a couple of times, but we never did it to, like, vandalize. We just, like, my friend's backyard, we would just fight each other by
Yeah, that's
shooting
totally
shaving
different.
cream.
Totally
Um,
different.
but then, like, we had one year where, like, I was like the fucking Riddler where I thought I was so cool. I was, like, shaving creams question marks on, like, sidewalks and on the street. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm so cool." I was, like, fucking 10 or 11 years old at the
Riddler.
time, solving a fucking mystery, Batman. But,
I
the haunted houses, I did the one in New York City. Was it Blood Manor? Is
Oh,
that
the big, like, the you need to sign a waiver to do it one?
Yes. Um, it did it so it's over 10 years ago now, but I don't I'm with you, like, it doesn't I know you can't touch me, and I know that there was parts that were, like, weird, like, when the fog machine is so high that you really can't see where you're going, and I get it, but I'm with you, like, I enjoy horror movies now more than I used to, but I just don't, like I don't need to be scared face to face with a person with a fake chainsaw running after me, like, I'm good, thanks.
You know, it's one thing to have your adrenaline kick in because you're watching something scary and it brings you out of your comfort zone and it gives you like the heebie-jeebies or whatever. But it's quite another thing to be thrown into fight or flight mode because you think somebody is legitimately going to harm you or attack you or something. That is not a situation I want to willingly put myself in. That kind of takes the fun out of being scared for me. And I know for a lot of people, that is the fun of going to these
Right.
things. It's that realistic terror and that horror that you experience when you have somebody in your face or chasing after you or whatever. That is just not the kind of horror that I am into. Um and I never have been. Even as a kid, I was always afraid to go. Even the stupid. Do you remember going to like pumpkin patches as a kid and they would set up those like rinky dink, "Oh, walk through our terrifying
Mazes.
haunted house." I wouldn't do it when I was little because I was so afraid of what might be in there and what was gonna hurt me or what was gonna try to kidnap me or whatever. And I don't know why I thought that way as a small child, but I did.
Right.
And I just that never seemed like an appealing experience to me. And I thought maybe when I got older I'd grow into it, but I didn't.
Yeah, I don't the one thing I will say, it definitely felt like Halloween was kind of dead for a while, for a
I
couple of
agree.
years, and I like the ideas of, like, the people doing those, like, trunk or treats, so it's easier for the kids to go around.
I agree. And even like for the adults of the world, like
Mhm.
I always remember SantaCon and all of those like bar crawls around Christmas and Santa themed. There have been a lot more Halloween geared events in the last couple years that I've seen.
Mhm.
Not always surrounding like bar crawls because those can be a bit much too, but just
Yeah.
like come to this expo center, we're doing costume contests and there'll be live music and food and beverages, whatever.
Right.
But a lot more of those specifically geared towards celebrating Halloween. Um, and it's nice to see that the adults are getting into it too. It's not just something that's geared towards like the school parades and parties and things for little kids anymore. Um, so yeah, long live Halloween. It's just such a fun holiday. I love it.
Last year, there's, like, one house on the block, and for the parents, they have, like, alcoholic beverages if you wanted,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
cans of beer or wine, whatever, but I thought that was, like, a nice touch to have. Um
There's a house on my block that does that too. I guess it's like the meeting
mhm.
spot for all of the families that get together. Because where I am, we get timed trick or treating. So each township, county, town, I don't know. They get hours that they go trick or treating. And I kind of live on like a dead end, like a cul-de-sac type area. So there are a bunch of cul-de-sacs all in this one area, and I guess the families, they pick a couple houses to get together and they go around the neighboring blocks from there. But the starting point, they have juice boxes and goodie bags for the kids, and then they have a White Claw and beer station for
Nice.
the parents, which I think is awesome. Because really everybody should enjoy themselves in whatever way that means to that individual. For some people, it's
Mhm.
having a little something to take the edge off while your kids are screaming and running up and down the blocks. For some people, it's being the one screaming and running up and down the block. That's one of my favorite things about Halloween is everybody it's for the kids and the kids at heart too.
I don't know what your feelings are, but I cannot stand TJ Maxx. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I
Oh
say it
boy.
because, I was in there because Jill wanted to get some Halloween decorations. I That place is is a garage sale to me. Like, there's literally not TJ Maxx is the store of, like, people that gave you shitty gifts. That's where they give it. They give it to TJ Maxx to sell. Like, that's what I think. There's nothing that's in there that's, like, great. I fucking hate it. It's not a good store.
See,
Rant
okay,
over.
let me validate you in that Marshalls and TJ Maxx kind of share this. I would say, what's the other one? Big Lots shares this too. They're a little bit chaotic in the way they are structured and designed, and it's like organized chaos in there. I feel like if you were to go in there and ask me where to find something, I wouldn't know what to tell you. I'd be like, I don't know. You just got to wander around till you find it. Um, but I find TJ Maxx, Marshalls, those types of places to be places where you're most likely to find hidden gem products. Marshalls and TJ Maxx in terms of clothes are actually great. This ties into what we were talking to about before.
Mhm.
For designer or brand name clothes for a lot less than you would
Yeah.
normally pay for them. I don't
You
know
could
if it's
add
because they
Burlington
get them
Coat
all.
Factory in that too.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Um, and I've always loved going through, like, their gourmet section because sometimes you find fun, like, snacks or kitchen accessories or accent pieces, and for seasonal decor, sometimes you really do find some
Gems.
fun stuff, I'll say. Would I rather for holiday decor go into Michael's? Probably. Am I also biased because I worked there for 4 years of my life? Also probably.
Right,
Um
right.
but Michael's has a chokehold on me because of the Limax Spooky Town for Halloween and the Christmas Village for
I love
Christmas.
those. If
I'm
I had
obsessed.
room, I would get them, but I don't.
The
So,
hol w I we have quite the Halloween collection here. It's one of our most prized possessions, I would say, because we add something. We do this for Halloween and for Christmas. We try to buy one new piece every year to add to our village. Um, but my point in bringing that up is I'm going to Michael's anyway because they are an exclusive seller of the Limax villages. Um, and a lot of their seasonal stuff is just cute, and I really like it.
yeah, I'm not gonna say TJ Maxx does. I'm not saying you can't find anything, but I just and there's TikTok videos people do where they're like, "Hey, I'm looking for like a frog that's holding a table while making out with a
I've seen
pig," and
those,
they're like,
yes.
"Yeah, yeah, right here."
Yeah.
So you recently took a test.
Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about why putting people of all ages
Mhm.
through the horror and stress of proctored test taking should not be a thing. So, you may be thinking, there's no way you were taking like the SATs or a college admission test, and you'd be correct. This was for a job related licensure certification type thing, which I have taken in the past for other areas or states, whatever.
Mhm.
And my experience with test taking is that people tend to do a lot better when, you can time the test, you can put guardrails in place to make sure that, it's not as simple as you sign up and you Google every answer and you pass.
Mhm.
But Brian, this test, so it was online proctored, right? And I won't even get into the nitty-gritty of the material and how no normal person with any amount of time to study would be able to really learn and digest and, commit to memory half of the material that needed to be known for this test. I just think you set people, and this is especially true of school age kids. And I have always been an advocate for not making test taking such a goddamn stressful experience.
Yeah.
How is anybody supposed to feel, even if you are prepared, that added pressure of like, if you sneeze the wrong way, it's going to be a problem, if you don't complete it in X amount of time. Oh, you could not have scrap paper for this test. You could not mouth the words. If they caught you mouthing, like reading the question to yourself, that was grounds to be kicked out of the exam.
That's, like, too much, like, that's just, like, a little too extra.
I
Like
talk to myself all day long. Like that's how
yeah.
I get usually to the ultimate decision I'm making or the end conclusion is I talk it out, even if I'm just talking to myself. So
Yeah, and
I
sometimes
just
you need to
I
read the question, like, out loud
right.
to yeah,
Right.
understand,
You couldn't cover your mouth. You couldn't look anywhere else but the screen. It really and at the end of the day, it's not that serious. It's not that serious, and I don't understand why anybody feels it is an effective, strategy to make test taking this high stress experience for anybody because, you know, I don't wanna say I'm not a good test taker because at the end of the day, usually if I study and prepare for something, I'm a nervous wreck up until
right.
the end of the test, but I usually can, pull a passing score. It's something that really needs to be assessed, not just in the, professional world for grown ass adults who don't
Right.
need to memorize anything that you're making them memorize,
Mhm.
but for kids too, because I remember this being something I struggled with a lot in, elementary, middle, high school, college, all of them, because I'm a highly anxious person by nature. And when
Yeah.
you add extra stressors to my already high anxiety, it makes it more difficult for me to do anything in a level-headed or productive manner because I'm just scrambling like a wreck up until the end of whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I don't know what the a good replacement for it is because, uh, like, an open book test even can be challenging because
Yeah.
if you didn't take good notes, you're fucked. If, like, you don't really know where to look for it in a book, you're fucked. So yeah, I don't know what the right answer is, but I agree. It's a whole lot for a little bit of time, and then, like, once it's done, that's it. Like, you don't I mean, how much of the information are you either even retaining? Like, all those, like, Regents exams and stuff, I didn't
Right.
retain fucking anything from that,
Even the
so
SATs.
yeah. I mean, the
Not
SATs
I
was a
couldn't tell you. I
stupid
couldn't tell
test.
you. But
Yeah,
I also do agree with your point about an open book test because even for this one I'm talking about now, I am not saying make it an open book test for two reasons. One, I understand that the point of an exam to earn, a certificate, a designation, whatever it is
right.
to make sure that whatever material you were supposed to be prepared on, you spent enough time preparing that you don't need to have it right in front of your face to know it. That's the whole point of a test.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with college degrees. I don't know if we've talked about it before, but it's just like, how many jobs are people doing that it's only because they have the glorified piece of paper that said they got a bachelor's
Right.
degree? Like, you have a
Right.
bachelor's degree in, like, liberal arts or some shit, and it's like, "Oh, but you're working in the medical field." Like, it doesn't like,
Right.
make it make
Right. Right.
sense here. Yeah, I am not the best test taker. I'm like you, it's gets, like, very high anxiety, and then, like, when you really don't know the answer to a question and you're just, like, in your brain just being like, "This looks right. This has to be right." And then you look at the grade at the end, you're like, "Fuck!" It's like
That or your first go around, you're like, "I got this. I know this one is right." And then you go back and reread it and you're like, "Oh shit, maybe that's not the right answer." And then you
Yeah.
change it 4 times and ultimately you'll never know should you have gone
Mhm.
with your gut or not. I have a very bad habit of doing that.
The Scantrons too used to fuck me up.
Oh my god, Scantrons.
Throwback.
When you used to see all the little red lines, it was like
And
the
then the letter
worst
at the
feeling.
end. It's like, "No, dipshit, it was a B, and you put A, like a moron."
Or, like, God forbid you erased poorly and the Scantron machine just didn't know what to
Oh.
do with you. It was like, fuck you, you're wrong." Nope.
So, let's get into the movie. The
Yeah, let's
second
do
one on the
it.
list, we did provide the list, on at Pop and Pause Pod, so check it out if there's any
Yeah.
movie you're interested in. but this one is Scream, the
You can't
1996 film.
you really cannot talk I think I said this last week introducing our spooky season couple of episodes. We really tried to pick movies that you can't think about horror in the 90s without these movies coming to mind.
Yeah.
And Scream is absolutely iconic in terms of, I would say, not just horror movies of the 90s, but movies of the 90s in general. It is still popular to this day. The franchise is still going. I think they actually just announced they signed Matthew Lillard for the newest one that's going to be coming out. Skeet Ulrich has been in the last couple reboots. I think it was, is it 6 and 7 or 7 and 8? I don't remember.
I was trying to think about that,
Um
yeah. Spoiler anyway, but go ahead.
yeah. but um but yeah, it's one of those movies that has certainly stood the test of time. I feel like it's definitely at like cult classic status at this point. Um, and I feel like it's only gotten more popular as the years have gone on, which I love because I really do think it's a fun horror
Yeah.
movie,
I
I
definitely have
think.
more of an appreciation for it now, but to get into the ratings here, which is kind of wild, but Rotten Tomatoes, we have 76%, Popcorn 82%,
That sounds right.
Metacritic 60, Users a 6.6, IMDb is a 7.4 out of 10. But actually, all the movies outside of like 1 and 2 are about the same. Actually, Scream 2 is 83. This I'm going by Rotten Tomatoes here, but
Sure,
like,
sure.
even the lowest one is 3 at 44, but then you go back up to 60. The Scream 6 is a 77, so they're all like maintaining a pretty decent
Yeah.
rating. So it's kind of impressive, especially for this genre of movie where we've said like anything over a 50% is pretty plausible
You're
for a
doing
decent
something
movie.
right. Right, right,
Right.
right.
But yeah, pretty big cast, I'd say, for the 90s. A
Well, yeah,
lot of big
absolutely.
90s actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Well, we got Neve Campbell playing Sydney, Courtney Cox as Gail Weathers, David Arquette, which weren't they
Yeah.
married, right? Yeah, okay.
She was Courtney Cox Arquette for many, many years. But yeah, David Arquette is Dewey.
Dewey.
Mess.
Skeet Ulrich as Billy, your guy.
Oh, love of my life. He's one
The
of the
old
first. I feel like I've said this about a dozen actors, but he is also one of the first that I remember having, like, a celebrity crush on in this movie. Something about him, I don't know, he just did it for me. The psychopathic tendencies aside, I should say.
yeah, yeah.
Let's just clarify, I'm talking solely from a physical perspective. But yeah,
Yeah, I
who
would
else we got?
say
We've got Matthew Lillard,
Matthew Lillard, Stewart. We got the infamous Jamie Kennedy as Randy, Drew Barrymore as
Casey.
Casey, which
Yeah.
is like it's a funny that she's just like almost a cameo and not really
Yeah,
like
yeah, oh, for
the
sure.
big.
Yeah. Henry Winkler, weirdly, as the principal.
Yes. I forgot
So
to put him
weird.
down, but yeah.
And then Rose McGowan is Tatum.
Mhm.
I
So
think
pretty
that pretty much covers the big names. Am I missing anybody?
No, I think you got everybody. If we miss somebody, you miss somebody, but that's the bulk of it, I would say.
Right. And I mean, what's funny is we usually like to spend time on themes throughout the movie, and there are certainly some themes in this movie. Again, overcoming grief and loss is certainly one of them.
Mhm.
There are some, like, high school-esque themes that we talked about in some of our high school rom-com movies.
Yeah.
Um, but this movie really isn't about themes. So, really, at its core, you've got what I would call a dark comedy slasher film. And in before the 90s, slashers were, and Wes Craven is known for a lot of them. So, I mean, he did The Nightmare on Elm Street, for Christ's sake. I think did he also do Friday the 13th?
Let's see.
It looks like he did Friday the 13th and uh A Nightmare on Elm Street in the later years. Some of the later Nightmare movies, Freddy vs. Jason. Oh, he did do the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, yeah. Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes. So he is Wes Craven is a prolific horror director.
Mm.
Um, and Scream kind of takes the best of his slasher films and kind of mixes in some of the almost like the campiness and the black comedy elements of like an Evil Dead type situation.
Mhm.
Because this movie, one of its more endearing qualities is that it does not take itself too seriously. And it
Yeah.
goes out of its way to kind of point out, like, you see, if this
This
were
is
a
the
horror
typical.
movie, this is what would happen. And then that's exactly what happens.
Mm.
Um, some of my favorite scenes are at the end when Jamie Kennedy is talking the class
At the
through
Blockbuster?
Halloween and, like, why things are playing out the way they are and what are the horror movie rules, because
Mhm.
that's really what the movie does to you throughout the entire runtime, is it kind of plays with, you know, "Oh, if you're a virgin, you won't die because there's not the element of, sin," I think is how Jamie Kennedy puts it. And if you say, "Oh, I would never kill anybody," you're probably the killer, and if you say, "I'll be right back," you're gonna die, you're not coming back. So,
Yeah.
I, um I think Wes Craven must have had a lot of fun kind of playing with those tropes that he is obviously so familiar with. At this point, he had been making movies for over a decade. Um, but really, you know, you start off this movie, it starts off straight slasher, and then it kind of leans into some of the more black comedy elements. But the opening scene of this movie is so iconic, and it really is chilling in a lot of ways. So you open up, Casey's home alone, she's making her Jiffy Pop, which, shout out, we love popcorn
Yeah.
here, so that was very exciting to see. But she's
Mhm.
making her popcorn, you could tell she's by herself, and then you get the infamous phone ringing, which in the 80s and 90s in terms of horror, that was a big maybe trope's not the right term, but plot device.
Yeah.
Like, you think of When a Stranger Calls, you think of, Scream comes to mind immediately. There are a lot of
The
movies
Ring.
where The Ring, right, there's some element of a telephone ringing, and that is the horror that's about to ensue. And I feel like, in the late 2000s into present day, in the age now of cell phones where nobody answers phone numbers they don't know and caller ID identifies, this might be a scam or like you don't know this number. I don't know that a scene like this would hit the same as it
Yeah.
did in the 90s where everybody had a landline and caller ID was still relatively, new to the scene.
Mhm.
But really Casey picks up the phone and it's obviously a prank call. They make that pretty clear immediately. And, you get your iconic, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And really, I feel like what that scene sets you up for, like, nobody really cares what Casey's favorite scary movie was.
Right.
Nobody that's not the focal point of it, but it's giving you insight into these killers that you're gonna be following throughout the movie because this guy's on the phone with her. You can tell she's terrified after a point, and he's just playing with her, and he's got her boyfriend, and the whole scene is just very disturbing
There's, like,
because
87 doors to lock in that house.
oh my god, well, that's a whole issue in and of itself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know, they took or the guy on the phone, the killer took clear pleasure before
Mhm.
Casey unfortunately meets her untimely demise.
Yeah.
Um, he takes pleasure in seeing how scared she is and, like, trying to keep her at the edge of her seat or whatever, and, it's not like Michael Myers where, he walks into his sister's room without a word and he just starts, going at it with the knife, whatever. This was clearly someone, premeditating what they were going to do, enjoying what they were doing, kind of taking pleasure in the cat and mouse of it all. And, I kind of spoiled already, but, they do this for a little bit. They start asking horror movie trivia and say, "That's the only way to save you and your boyfriend." She
Mhm.
gets the question about the Friday the 13th wrong, about who is the killer in the first one,
Yeah.
and they kill her boyfriend on sight. And then, unfortunately, they kill her too. And that's what kind of throws everything into chaos because you learn that this is the 1-year anniversary of Sydney's, Nev Campbell's character's mother being murdered in the town as well. So
Mhm.
now there's like this whole frenzy that these serial killers on the loose, Gail Weathers, our favorite reporter, she has this whole theory that the person that is in jail for the murder of Sydney's mom is wrongfully imprisoned and wrongfully accused and all this stuff. So basically, this story is like a whodunit tale because after Casey and her boyfriend in the beginning of the movie, the killer sets his eye on Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole movie is kind of trying to figure out why is she being targeted? Who would be targeting her? Who is this killer? And you
Mhm.
follow her, her boyfriend, Billy, her
Right.
best friend, Tatum, and her boyfriend, Stu, and Randy. That's kinda like the core 5 of the film, and, important to note, Tatum's brother is Dewey, who is, like, the police chief or deputy, I forget what his title is.
Yeah, he's
Um
like the deputy, but it's just
Yeah,
like
and they're
it sounds
all
like he's like
they're
a
all
volunteer, he just, like,
right,
walked
and
into
he's
that
so
job.
proud of I don't know, I love David Arquette.
Yeah.
And I think Dewey is an iconic staple in these movies, but rewatching the first one, I'm like, "Bro, what I don't understand what all the
It's
hype about being the deputy is, but okay."
right.
But anyway, listen, he was proud of his accomplishment. We're proud of you too, Dewey. It is what it
Yeah,
is.
do what you
But,
gotta do.
basically it comes into question whether or not Billy is the one targeting Sydney. And, you know, he gets all upset because he's like, "Why would you think that of me? I would never do something like that to you. Like, I really care about you." Um, and you kind of watch as she loses trust in him, then regains trust in him, and then, everything goes completely belly up towards the end. And without getting into every jump scare, murder, attack of the movie, you find yourself at the end and you learn that there's not just one killer, there's two.
Yeah,
And it is in fact Billy and it's his best friend, Stu. Um, and not only are they the ones that killed Casey and her boyfriend in the beginning, they also killed Sydney's mother. So Gail Weathers
which I
gets
forgot
her
about. So that
delicious
was
moment at the end because she's right. Her book is going to be correct, whatever.
mhm,
Um, but it turns out that her mother was having an affair with Billy's father, which made his mom up and leave. So he has had a vendetta against, the Prescott family since he was a young child. And he even says, he's like, losing a parent will really fuck you up or whatever he says. So, um, but the fun of the movie is that it's not just watching like hack and slash for an hour and a half, 2 hours. They really they play with the mass killer and, like, there are a couple times even, like, when Billy first calls Sydney with the voice changer and she's like, "Oh, it's so obvious it's you, Billy, like, I like what you're doing with your ha ha ha." And,
right.
right then it's like, "Oh, yeah, if you listen hard enough, you can totally tell, who it is and what's going on." But they kind of let the story unfold in such a fun way by using these tropes we were talking about to, you know,
They were,
play
like,
with your
kinda taking you
expectations.
on the adventure and being
Right,
like, well, this is the typical way that these slasher films go, so is this the guy or is he
right,
not?"
right,
I
right,
also like that I don't know if this is the right word, but, like, kind of not humanize the killer, but it's for example, in Halloween, like Michael Myers, like, it didn't matter, you stabbed him or shot at him and he still, walked like nothing happened.
right,
Like, they were, throwing bottles at him and he was like, "Oh, fuck," he was not like a ditz, but he was like a killer that did get hurt and did get fucked up. So,
I'm getting
I
woozy here.
yeah, great line.
Well, I also found it so interesting that, you think about some of the other iconic horror killers. Michael Myers is probably the best example. He has no motive to do what he does. Even Dr. Loomis in the first Halloween, when everyone's asking, like, what is this guy's deal? He's like, he's just evil. There
Yeah,
is no
yeah,
motive. There is no reason. He just is an evil man, and this is what he does. Whereas, like, Billy explains exactly what his motive was, and it still doesn't, justify any of his actions, let's be clear here. But
yeah,
I also find it interesting in a time where everything you saw about high school, like you said, was rom-coms and dramedies and first love and the prom and stuff. I thought that it was very interesting to center not just the plot around high school kids, but
yeah,
make the killers high school kids too. Because I Know What You Did Last Summer is another horror movie that came out around the same time with the same age demographic of the cast,
yeah,
but the killer was like some big baddie older person. It wasn't someone in their friend group at their level in the same age group as them. Um, and I thought that was very interesting for the time. That wasn't something you saw super frequently in horror. And overall, I think it managed to play both sides of the coin very well. Like there are some moments that are truly like holy shit in that movie and they're scary. They're
mhm,
not scary like I'm not going to sleep tonight scary, but you get some good jump scare moments and some gore moments and things. But I also think they play the comedy element very well as two very well as well, and neither of the two take away from the other, if that makes sense.
yes. I kinda like that. It's very unique to me to see that, like you said,
Mhm.
blending it perfectly because you can go to horror and you can go to comedic where it's like, "Okay, now I can't take any of this serious." Um, also, like, funny, I mean, like, Billy coming through the window, it's such a '90s thing, like,
Yeah.
everybody just came through the window,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why was this
Yeah.
such a thing? Um,
And even do you remember the cell phone he used? Like, the whole reason Sydney thought Billy was the killer is because he climbs it through her window and a cell phone falls out of his pocket, and she was getting the phone calls from outside the house.
mhm.
I thought that cell phone was a calculator when it fell out of his pocket, like, it didn't even look like a phone.
Right, right.
TI-83 plus graphing
Yeah,
calculator looking
exactly.
crap.
A little
It
Texas
can't.
Instrument going on.
Right. Right. Um,
I like to say, like, I wanna play a game. I wonder if the guy who did
who
Saw,
did Saw? I thought the
like,
same
took the
thing.
yeah,
Mhm.
as, like, a
And,
homage thing.
um, I had never I've seen this movie quite a few times. I hadn't caught this before. At one point, Rose McGowan is talking to Nev Campbell about something, and she's like, "Oh, like one of those Wes Carpenter movies or something." And I never realized, like, Wes Craven and John Carpenter are 2 very prolific horror
Mm,
directors, and that was obviously a nod to both of them because they play Halloween for, like, the last 20 minutes of the movie's runtime. There is a clear appreciation for the genre and for the people who had kind of paved the way for everything that came before this movie, and again, there are 1,000 reasons why I think this movie holds up so well, and I think that's one of them too. It doesn't just reinvent in the fact that it was something pretty innovative for that period of time. Like I said, Evil Dead came before it, which is the most iconic example of like horror and comedy and campiness all wrapped into one movie. And
mm,
later, I don't know if you've seen Cabin in the Woods, but that's one of my favorite horror comedy movies, and it threads the needle very well like Scream does. But
okay.
Scream paid a lot of homage and paid a lot of respect to, you could tell it was a love letter to the horror genre up until that point. And I think the reason it has such a cult following is because horror lovers can't help but love all of the little references and the Easter eggs and the playing with the tropes and all of those things. It just makes it a really fun horror movie to watch. And
Yeah.
horror movies usually are not fun. They're usually unpleasant. But this one isn't.
Well,
This one's a great time.
if you're into dark twisted, sometimes I guess it is
Right.
fun for you.
Right. Right.
Um, the best though is like you said, I'm feeling a little woozy, and then like the phone call saying, "My mom and dad
Uh,
are gonna be so mad at me."
yeah.
Buddy, you got a lot
Or
worse
even when he
problems
goes,
than that.
"You cut me too deep. I think I'm dying here."
For fun facts, what I had here was the movie was originally called Scary Movie, but changed to Scream during production, inspired by the Michael Jackson song Scream,
Oh, I love
which,
that song.
yeah, which, side fun fact, when I was, I took a gym class called Hip Hop Video Dance Class. That was the song we used in my final. So, another tidbit, but
Love
Drew
that.
Barrymore was originally slated to play Sydney, but took the
Really?
smaller role. Yeah, took the smaller role to establish that the main character may not survive the movie. So kind of I guess throw you off, which is that's fun.
I like that.
The famous 42-minute party scene at the end was shot over 21 nights. And the crew
What?
used to joke that it was the longest night in horror history. Yeah.
That's
That's
so
crazy. For
funny.
42 minutes of footage, like 21 days?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Um, Roger Jackson, who was the voice of the killer, was
Oh,
kept
okay.
separate. He was kept separate from the actors to maintain suspense, and no one met him until after the film had wrapped. So,
Wow.
yeah, which is fun, I guess. I mean, I would say even now it'd be an important thing with all like the leaks and stuff. So,
Sure. Well,
eh,
they did that with the most recent It reboots with Bill Skarsgård. They did not let the kids see him in makeup until they were shooting that scene where they're playing the slides and he's
mhm,
in the picture with I forget which one of the kids' moms, but their terror at seeing his picture was their first time seeing him in makeup
that's horrifying.
because they wanted to get a genuine terrified reaction, which they succeeded. But I always think that's a very interesting technique to really not
Capture,
play
like,
up the acting, but get a much more authentic reaction out of your actors is to kind of keep the horror element completely separate from them until it's time, until it's go time, you know?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely genius because it's one thing to act scared, but to like
Right.
genuinely be it,
Be
yeah.
scared. Right, right, right. Just look at how I reacted at the beginning of the episode with your ghost face mask.
We'll see if we can clip it for you guys. We'll see. No promises. The last one I have here is Wes Craven actually makes a cameo. He is the janitor with the Freddy Krueger sweatshirt on.
Yes.
So,
I also thought that well, I think The Nightmare, on Elm Street was the movie that put him on the map. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know, that was '84. No, he did The Hills Have Eyes and The Last House on the Left in the '70s. So he was already established for some time
fire.
before this movie came out. But we know A Nightmare on Elm Street is a beyond famous horror movie. Everybody knows that one. So when you see the janitor in the Freddy Krueger I think Henry Winkler even says, "I'm not talking to you, Freddy," or something, or Fred,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Again, that was something I hadn't picked up on in prior watch throughs, and I'm like, "Oh, that's really funny."
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have only seen I think it was the 2010 one of Freddy Krueger. I've not seen,
Oh,
like, the original
the original
Nightmare.
one is great. It really
Yeah,
is. Um,
okay.
the '80s will always have a very special place in my heart with their horror. '90s too, because it was before all of the graphics and effects were CGI. 99% of everything was done with practical effects, and I just think practical effects hold up a lot better. Um, and Nightmare Before Elm Street, Nightmare Before I'm combining The Nightmare Before Christmas and A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sorry. A Nightmare
Both
on Elm
nightmares,
Street
but
does
yeah.
some very cool visual stuff for its time. And it's, it's a well-acted teen horror slasher type movie.
Mm.
Um, but I definitely love the first one. I think the first one is worth watching. Even though it's older, if you've not seen it, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, maybe I will. I think they're on HBO Max, whatever the fuck you wanna call it, but yes.
They'll
Um
probably start hyping up. I feel like HBO does a good job every year. A
mhm.
lot of streaming services do this now, but they put out their, like, Halloween collection, and they
Yeah.
kind of lump together all of the horror movies that they have in their catalog, and sometimes they get new licenses for Halloween, to their platforms, so I always get
Yeah.
excited. Usually it's a little early right now, but usually by the end of September, they'll do, like, the 31 days of Halloween or whatever, and it really kicks off end of September through the 31st of October.
I know, like, uh, Peacock, I think, had Halloween last year. I think they had all of them.
Yes, I
Um,
think you're right.
so yeah, I've seen all of those.
The first Halloween is a movie. There are a couple of horror movies that I have to watch
Okay.
every Halloween season, and the 1978 Halloween is the tippy top of that list. Um, Scream usually gets a playthrough for me. The
Okay.
Shining kicks off Halloween season for me. That's usually my first horror movie of the season. Um, and then there are a couple others on there, but I'm not gonna go through every.
No, that's fine.
Well, and some of them are upcoming on our list, and I don't wanna well, we've already kinda spoiled, we put them out
We
there.
did
So,
post it, so,
Blair
yeah.
Witch Project is on there for me too. Every October, I have to watch the Blair Witch Project.
Which, that one I'm excited to watch because of all, like, the being around when it first came out and the crazy amount of popularity it
Yeah.
had, like, I'm curious to see how it is. I have not seen it, so
Well,
that'll
I'm
be
going to
fun
save my commentary for when we've both seen
when
it
we
and we
watch.
reconvene, but yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Scream rating-wise, are we going clear skies?
Yes.
Are you doing mostly
Absolutely.
sunny?
I
Black
have
clouds?
seen that
No.
movie so many times, I can't not call it A Clear Sky because
Okay.
that is, like, my defining characteristic of A Clear Sky movie is I would not only recommend it, but I'd rewatch it, and I rewatch this movie at least once a year. Um, and I think all of the elements we talked about, I think the fact that it threads the needle between being scary and being funny, I think the cast is not only are they iconic for the time, but they're all decent actors. So you
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
well-acted movie, you get convincing characters, you get character development as well. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, but you kind of get a lot out of this considering it's a teen slasher type flick and rightfully is considered iconic for the time and it's certainly one of my favorites. So yeah, it's a clear sky for me, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely go clear sky. It's just one of those
Woo!
classic movies,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, and I am finding, like, as we're rewatching them that I'm, like, enjoying them a lot more. I don't
More.
know if it's just, like,
Yeah,
watching it from a different perspective. I think the trouble I have with some of, like, the older movies is, like, I I'll had missed the wave, so I'm like, I don't really get it now, like, whereas, like, if you watched it when you were younger and it, like, stood out to you, you
sure,
know?
sure.
Like, the Jeepers Creepers, for example, I watched as a kid, it definitely creeped me the fuck out, but now, like, it's nothing crazy, so
The Ring is like that for me.
Okay.
Um, and don't get me wrong, I still love The Ring as a movie. If it's ever on and I stop and see it, I have to watch it. I have to. But The Ring is one of those movies that the first time I literally didn't sleep for like 2
Mm.
days, and I could not open my closet for some time without having the shit scared out of me. But now watching it, I'm like, I mean, okay, like,
It's not
it
that
wasn't that
crazy.
scary, Jesus,
Yeah.
but I will always have that memory of it being one of those movies that shook me to my core when I saw it because it scared me so much.
But
But
also
I
I
agree with
think
you.
the evolution of horror movies does play into that as well.
Sure,
Horror
absolutely.
movies, you know? But
Horror
go ahead.
movies. Well, and I feel like horror has not just evolved in terms of movies of that nature, but horror has so many facets now. Like, you've
Yeah.
got your thriller horror, you've got your psychological horror, you've got your slasher and gore horror, you've got your "you're not gonna see a drop of blood, but you're still not gonna sleep tonight" horror. You've got demonic horror. Like, there are a million ways to scare somebody, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like horror has honed its craft over the years in some of those areas. We talk
Just
about
gotta
A24
reinvent
a
the wheel
lot.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, well, that's it that you were reading my mind. We talk about A24 a lot on the channel, and I
Yeah.
feel like your Robert Eggers, your Ari Asters, they've really taken some of those, classic tropes or subgenres within horror, and they've done some really unique and new things with them over the last couple of years. And even going into this fall, there are quite a few horror movies coming out in the next like, through the end of the year, I would say. I mean, we talked about Bring Her Back after we both saw it. That was excellent. There are a couple of
Yeah.
really good ones. Studio Neon is actually putting out a couple that I'm so intrigued by that I know I'm going to have to see them. Jordan Peele's new one is coming out in the next couple
Yeah.
months. So I just feel like horror is really in a renaissance period right now. And it's exciting to see people getting hype and hyped
You know what
up
I'd love to
about
see?
horror.
I wanna see it, like, win an Oscar.
Me
That's what I
too.
wanna see
Me
happen.
too.
I don't know who will
Well,
do it,
fingers
but
crossed. I gotta tell you right now, if Sinners isn't nominated for something Oscar related, I don't know. I feel like something will have gone wrong because it doesn't, I'm not even saying it has to be like, you know, best picture, but between sound design, costume design, acting, like somewhere music, somewhere something in there needs to be Oscar nominated or I'm going to be upset. And technically that is being billed as a horror movie.
I'm curious with that one though because it came out so early in the year, and you know how they are, like, they always it's always, like, the movies that come out, like,
I
October,
know like
November,
it
December,
yeah.
but alright, so the next one is actually The Blair Witch, so this is gonna be fun. I am excited for it. Do you have anything else you wanna throw in there?
Listeners out there, you let us know. We'll keep our eyes open, but we are at Pop and Pos Pod on Instagram, and we would love to hear from you. What's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah. Alright, we're gonna go head on into week 3 of week 3. Movie 3, I should say. But, stay tuned, stay spooky. See you next time.